to say what? Oh, for Christ's sake. It's the VMX Show, Season 7.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the VMX Show, Season 7, Episode 2. Well, we got a lot to go through. We got your questions and comments. We got the news, of course. We got sales figures. We had a guest come by. A guy by the name of Nero Sephiroth wanted to come by the show and sing for us. We'll find out how that went in a little bit. But let's get to your questions and comments from Episode 1. Let's see. Marked as spam. Let's see. Irish Talk said, thank you. Finally, someone agreed Skyward Sword was lame. Yeah, Skyward Sword was lame, and your comment is not spam. Oh, I don't like your comment. I disagree with it, but instead of coming up with a good counter-argument, I'm just going to mark it as spam. You guys need to stop that shit. Seriously. You're lame. Lame. But yeah, you know, Skyward Sword is lame. I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible game, but it's a terrible Zelda game. Just put it that way. Overthane21 said a couple of questions for you, Necro. Number 1, do you or have you ever played a tabletop RPG like D&D? No, I have not. I never have, and I really don't see myself doing that in the future, so there you go. Number 1, what is your usual class build following the warrior, mage, rogue, and priest builds? Well, out of those, I would usually go for rogue. And number 3, how do you feel about World of Warcraft, and have you at least tried it? No. That's my answer to everything. No. How do I feel about it? No. Have I tried it? No. I have no interest. I've said this like a million times, but I'll say it 1,000,001. I have no interest in any MMO. I do not play online games. Holy Kale 1 says, what is your favorite Ys game? Is Ark of Nepishtim for the PlayStation 2 good compared to Oath and Felghana and 1 and 2 Chronicles on the PSP? Well, if you've played Oath and Felghana, it's actually very similar to Ark of Nepishtim in terms of the gameplay, at least. As for getting it for PlayStation 2, good luck finding that. You might want to actually get it for PSP. That's how I got it anyway on eBay. I paid, well, more money than I really wanted to, but I really wanted the game. As for my favorite Ys game, gotta give it up to 7 on the PSP, so there you go. Let's see, Vintage EXP779 says, Hiya Necro, good to see you're back for another series. A few questions. What do you think will come of Sony filing an anti-used game patent? Like, do you think it'll be implemented into the upcoming console? He goes on with an unrelated thing, so I'm going to answer that now. I don't think that it will get used because it's stupid. Out of all the major console makers, Sony is the one that's sort of teetering on the brink of oblivion. And if another major player steps into the market, which I think that the major player in this case would be Valve, there's not enough room for 4 major players. Right now we have 3. We have Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. And if somebody major is going to step in, it's either going to be unsuccessful, like it was with Nokia and Sega and whatnot. Then somebody has to go out. And what's going to happen, I think, is if somebody steps in, and I think it's likely to be Valve, somebody's going to step out, and I think it's going to be Sony. Sony teetering on the brink of oblivion. Vita not doing so good. PlayStation 3 doing better than it used to, but still sort of really not a very successful console. You know, what's going on? Can they come back from it? Yes, they can, but that's not the way to do it. Pissing people off and doing the anti-used game things. I mean, people have talked about it, but let's face it. If Sony was to do something that dumb, who is going to benefit from it? Is it going to be Sony, or is it going to be Microsoft and Nintendo and possibly Valve? It's going to be Microsoft and Nintendo and whoever else makes consoles, because whoever doesn't use the anti-used gaming thing is going to make more money, not because of what you would think. Like, basically, they're thinking we're going to make more money because people are not going to be able to just buy the same used copy of the game and it gets circulated around. 50 people play the game, but one person, we only get paid for it once, which, sucks for them. But at the same time, nobody's going to want to buy the console that they can't play used games on. So unless all the console makers band together and all agree to use this technology, it's not going to work out, and especially considering it only takes one to not use the technology and put out a half-decent console to become the dominant force in the market. Reading the rest of your comment says, also, I recently completed A Link to the Past on my Super NES following your playthrough as a guide. Much better and funnier than using a written walkthrough, but do you think using it made completing the game count for anything, seeing as I'm basically just following directions? Well, a lot of modern games, beating them is just following directions, and but with a game like that, it's really more about the experience and the story. I mean, you're asking me what I think, but really, it matters what you think. Do you think it counts for anything? Because if you feel it counts for something, then it does. If other people think that, it doesn't count because you watch somebody play it on YouTube, the response to that is, well, fuck you then. I mean, who cares if other people think that your win doesn't count? You know what I mean? So that's my response to that. I say, as long as you had fun and you enjoyed the game, then that's what matters. That's what counts. Got a bunch from Alex Shannon here. Okay, let's see. Which one of these came first? Let's see. All right, I'm going to go with this one first. Thing is, games lately have been pretty mediocre, so you get your good games from wherever you can. I don't know where you're getting this idea that games lately have been mediocre. That's an idiotic comment. Let's see what he says. I've been complaining about the quality in Mario, Sonic, Resident Evil, and games in general, about all the stuff they could have easily changed to make the games better. The stuff I complain about might seem fairly minor, but it's stuff that ruins whatever experience the game might have had. The perspectives in Resident Evil, voice actors in Sonic, general gameplay in Mario, and DLC, DRM in most games. Nice show. Well, like I said, if it's a minor complaint, then it doesn't ruin the game. It takes more than a minor complaint to ruin the game. The gameplay in Mario, are you kidding me? You think the gameplay in Mario is bad? Then you have no taste. I'm sorry to tell you that you have terrible taste if that's the case. I'm going to move on to your other comment here because that one's just, I kind of threw up in my mouth a little bit. But let's see. Only other comment here I've got is Call of Duty Finest Hour for PlayStation 2 and is one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games along with Devil May Cry 2. Resident Evil Revelations is a good game, the only Resident Evil game I've played. Well, see, it's interesting because he complains about the perspective in the Resident Evil games, but he hasn't played them. He's only played Revelations. So you're saying that it ruins the game for you, but you haven't played them. And you don't get to bitch about games you haven't played. And he says, if Square Enix had made a Final Fantasy VI remake for 3DS, that would have been my nominee rather than Halo 4, which at the time was the only good 2012 game I had played. What? I've played Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and wasn't too impressed. The controls were funky and I felt like they should have remapped the buttons differently. Well, then go into the friggin' options and remap it yourself. You can do that. I mean, it's the same controls as every other first-person shooter, so I'm going to move along. This just irritates me. All right, let's see. The Last Samurai 14 says, glad to see the VMX show back on YouTube. My question this week is, how do you think games like Xenoblade and The Last Story, as well as upcoming games like Lightning Returns and Ni no Kuni, will affect the general public's outlook on JRPGs? Let's face it, most people hated Final Fantasy XIII, and this turned many people off to JRPGs as a whole. So I'm wondering if you think that these games will rekindle significant interest in the genre. Well, you have to be correct in your initial assumption, and you're not. First of all, to say that most people hated Final Fantasy XIII is absolutely incorrect. It sold really well, and it got excellent reviews. Sure, there was a group of people who were very vocal about the fact that they didn't like it, but you're making an assumption that most people hated it, and it turned many people off to JRPGs as a whole. That is a completely false assumption. I do think that games like Xenoblade and The Last Story and Ni no Kuni and whatnot are going to help JRPGs, but I don't think they're in trouble. And I think that if they were in trouble, to blame Final Fantasy XIII is a bit ridiculous. Let's see. Tim Fife left a comment. Let's see. Glad to see the VMX show back on YouTube. My question this week is, I love the voice, by the way. What? Okay. My question this week is, I love the voice, by the way. It is WWE 12345678990QQ. I just changed my name, and my favorite game of 2012 is Resident Evil 6 Mortal Kombat Complete Edition, and the really good game you need to check out is Far Cry 3. And what was your favorite movie in 2012? That was a whole lot of... Okay, just a few things that you need to work on. Punctuation, coherency. I mean, okay, I guess that his question is, what was my favorite movie in 2012? Gotta say Skyfall. That was awesome. Puff Nis said, have you ever heard about the console Video Pack Plus G7400? That doesn't sound like a console. It sounds like a video card. I'm just going to Google this really quick and see what this is. Oh, okay. That's the Odyssey 3. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it as the Odyssey 3. I don't know why you're calling it that. But there you go. Yeah, I have heard about it. Moving on. Cobra DVS says, great show, Necro. So the Wii U has been out for a few months and I'm loving it, but I'm wondering what interesting or cool ways would you like to see the gamepad be used? Also, who the fuck calls it the U-Pad? Sounds like some sort of female hygienic brand or something. Anyway, thanks. Yeah, it does kind of say U-Pad. Yeah, it sounds wrong. Nobody calls it the U-Pad. It's the gamepad, the Wii U gamepad, or the tablet. That's what I usually just refer to it as, the tablet. What interesting ways would I like to see it be used? I mean, I don't know how interesting I would go. I would just go for like the simplistic stuff and like inventory management and, you know, like a second screen to maybe be able to see behind you. Like in a driving game, for example, in a driving game, that could be your rear view mirror. You could see behind you, you know. I don't know. Like I wouldn't go for anything too crazy. Bolt the Super Dogs Tube says, what game that you consider good or great has the worst music you have ever heard? Wow. Almost every Sega game that I like. No, I'm going a little overboard there, but the Phantasy Star games tend to have kind of music that isn't that great, which you expect better music in RPGs, especially considering that the Phantasy Star series are pretty good RPGs, so it's kind of weird. Prince Boo 85 says, are you excited for Pokemon X and Y? This is a question for anyone. Well, anyone may be excited. I couldn't give less of a shit because I haven't played Pokemon since I played the red version for about a few hours and then just said, alright, that's enough of that. High Elven Gamer says, nice try, Necro. That is about as close as I can get to Granny's voice. Did you know the voice actor who does her voice also does Master Shake? Now, that's a hard one to really pull off. Well, that's probably why I couldn't do it. I can't do Master Shake's voice either. Dana Snyder has a very unique tone of voice, you know, and, you know, I hear him, and I can always usually tell his voices. I didn't know he was Granny. That's kind of interesting. But, yeah, that's probably why I couldn't do it perfectly there. CPman05 says, the moment you brought up a game of 2012 and said you got some stupid responses, I was just waiting to hear mine. Still say WWE 13. Well, that's not necessarily a stupid response. Stupid response was the guy who just said anything but Black Ops 2, as if that's an actual answer. But as far as I'm concerned, that means his game of the year is Kinect Star Wars. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he also comments on the Sega thing. I remember this conversation, stupid Sega, he says. Let's see. 6 Doom, 6 Trooper 6 says, what are some good RPGs for someone looking into the genre? Well, you could always try Chronicles of a Dark Lord, Episode 1, Tides of Fate from KazarethStudios.com. But, yeah, I mean, it depends on... There's a lot of different types of RPGs. Someone here recommended Pokemon. I would say don't do that. No. Please don't. But, you know, like... the Dragon Quest series, the Final Fantasy series, the East series, the Lufia games. That's a lot right there. So I'm just going to move on here. Let's see. Hawkstar5088 says, I have 2 questions. 1, what is your favorite Mortal Kombat game? And 2, what was your favorite game console growing up? The first one's easy. They're both easy questions, actually. The first one, favorite Mortal Kombat is easily the latest one, which is just called Mortal Kombat, but almost everybody, for the sake of lessening confusion, or dare I say clearing it, just refers to it as Mortal Kombat 9, since it is the 9th major release in the series. And as for my favorite console growing up, that's easy as well, the Super NES. It's still the Super NES, still my favorite console of all time. Let's see, he posted another comment. I have 2 more questions. 3, what is your favorite Mario game? And 4, maybe 5, is the neighbor war over? And if so, did you overcome the annoying douchebag? I think you mean douchebag. Sorry if I spelled that wrong, neighbors. Favorite Mario game is tough because I like so many of them, and a lot of them are very different in terms of how they play. Like, my favorite side-scrolling Mario game is Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. But my favorite 3D one, it's sort of take your pick between Super Mario Galaxy 1 or 2. They were both great, you know. The Neighbor War, it's sort of like in a ceasefire, you know. It's sort of like how the Korean War never officially ended, but they're in a long-term ceasefire, kind of like that. They stopped doing their whole whooping and hollering and everything, and they occasionally will make a bunch of noise over there, but they'll do it for a very short amount of time, you know. So there you have it. The last I'd heard, I can go into a little bit of detail. The last I heard was, the police went over there the last time and talked to them, and they were complaining that my neighbor on the other side of me, which would be 2 houses over from them, which is a relative of mine I might have mentioned in the past, he'll have his dog out occasionally barking, for a long time, and we don't call the cops on them. And that it's unfair, and this and that, and that we're unfairly targeting them. And of course that's bullshit, because first off, that's my uncle next door. His dog had been dead for quite some time, so they're talking about shit from the past. And secondly, if his dog is barking for a really long time and it's getting annoying, I have the option of calling him and saying, "Will you let the dog in? It's been barking for a long time," and he'll do it. Because the reason that the whole neighbor war started initially was because they had the dogs out there barking for a really long time and just driving us crazy, and we didn't. The reaction wasn't initially to call the police and get them in trouble and have them get a ticket. The reaction was to call them and ask them politely to knock it off. Could you please put your dogs in or get them to quiet down? And their reaction was, if you don't like it, call the police. So they brought this on themselves, But and they said that they were going to, because they had a ticket from a while ago, not too long ago, but that sort of precipitated what you call the neighbor war. And they said they were going to appeal it, and the cop told them, fine, that's your right, you want to appeal it, but you just need to stop being such raging douches. And so far they're continuing to be douches, but it's considerably less on the douche-o-meter than it was previously. So let's see, I'm going to move along here. Zombie Ryushu says, Sega's abuses like this are exactly why the DMCA was enacted in the U.S. The DMCA does not protect the little guy. It was created to give the major players a way to shut down minor players and remove the fair use rights of consumers. No major corporation has ever been prosecuted for a fraudulent violation of the DMCA. It was selectively enforced as a means of oppression. The only way to fix this is to repeal the DMCA entirely. No. See, this is sort of like the gun control argument. And I'll tell people the same thing. We don't need new laws. We need to correctly enforce the ones we have already. Copyright infringement is wrong. But the thing is, the DMCA is abused by people who want to as you say, tread on others. And they can make a claim that is false and get away with it. And what we need to do is we need to enact safeguards that will prevent this from happening. Not to say that, anybody could use anything. What they need to do is they need to once and for all say that it does not violate copyright to have video game footage of yourself playing a game with commentary on YouTube, and that there is, and that you have to be the copyright holder to actually make the claim. I mean, Sega is the copyright holder in that case, but what I'm getting around to is the fact that the flaw of the DMCA is that anybody can make the claim on behalf of the copyright holder in good faith, and that never works out. But repealing it is not the way to go, because then it would just be a free-for-all. Splashfire Xerox says, hooray for the Migusta face in the background. I was hoping someone would notice that. Jazzmaster909 says, what's your favorite power-up in all the Mario games? I can't go wrong with the Fire Flower. Just love just burning everything to death. Loads of fun. Let's see, AveC66, or maybe it's Avec66, says, what advice would you give to people wanting to start a game channel? I think he means game channel on YouTube. I've been a fan for a year now, and I love your videos. Thanks. My advice is to just, have fun and do what you want to do, and maybe it'll catch on. Don't try to imitate anybody or try to be like anybody. This is going to sound weird, but don't take other people's advice. People are going to give you advice on what to do, and they're going to tell you how to run your channel, and you got to just say, no, this is what I want to do. And if you really feel that their advice is good and you want to do it, then do it. But if it's something that you really don't want to do, don't let people pressure you into doing it. Just figure out what kind of channel you want to do and stick with it. Let's see, moving on. Q3060005 says, my dad got me into Rush, but he doesn't like the newer stuff. I'd say Clockwork Angels is my second or third favorite album. You're way more awesome now that I know you're a Rush fan. Loving the show. Well, your dad ought to get the stick out of us, but the new stuff is great. And he also comments saying, wow, Xbox 360, second lowest selling console in Japan, highest selling in America, and that's why Japanese games rarely come out for the 360. Makes me very confused considering I'm a huge fan of both Japanese games and the Xbox 360. I'm the same way. They haven't managed to really break into the market there in any significant way. There are only like one or two games on the Xbox 360 that are Japan exclusives, and it really has never sold there really well, so it's kind of a shame. Crow Killer asked me, has there ever been a game that someone requested that you enjoyed? You can, how many times are people going to ask me that? I get that every season. I'm moving on. XX Bro Buzz XX says, good way to start the season. Start off the season, Necro. Anyway, my question today is, are you looking forward to the Binding of Isaac Rebirth? And what do you think concerning the 16-bit graphical overhaul the game brings? I'm personally most excited for having the game on a handheld with the Vita and hopefully 3DS ports. I doubt it would be on the 3DS because Nintendo's already kind of passed on that game once. I would get it for PC, and I really, really enjoyed The Binding of Isaac. I don't know why you're calling the graphical overhaul 16-bit. It has nothing to do with it, but it certainly looks cool, and I'm excited to play it again. I hope they release it with all the previously released DLC integrated into it. And maybe some new DLC will come out. Savage Broadcast says, good show, sir, as expected, and I have two questions. Number one, do you think Warner Brothers are rushing the Justice League movie for 2015, especially considering there have been no news on Flash, Wonder Woman, or Martian Manhunter movie, and is going back and forth as to whether Joseph Gordon-Levitt will be Batman, following on the end from Dark Knight Rises? Okay, first off, nobody has ever said in any official way that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is attached to a Batman project. The end of Dark Knight Rises does not suggest anything about Joseph Gordon-Levitt becoming Batman, his character becoming Batman, but rather becoming Robin, if you remember, or the heir to Batman. Secondly, you have to remember that the Dark Knight trilogy is over, and that it has been said by Warner Brothers many times that any new Batman movies will have nothing to do with the Dark Knight series. So why would Joseph Gordon-Levitt, going back and forth as to, no, he's never even been asked. They don't even have a script yet for another Batman movie. So I don't know where people get this idea that they automatically assume that Joseph Gordon-Levitt would have anything to do with another Batman movie. They have to come up with a concept first. As for whether or not they're rushing it, absolutely not. They need to get something going that's not Batman or Superman. The Green Lantern movie, it didn't really make the money that they thought it was going to be. But you seem to think that there has to be a Flash movie and a Wonder Woman movie and a Martian Manhunter movie for them to make it into the Justice League movie. Why not do the Justice League movie first and then spin off the most popular characters into their own movies? Just because Marvel did it in a way that was integrating everything together going up towards an Avengers movie does not mean that that's the only way to do it. So no, I don't think they're rushing it. And as for who's going to play Batman, there's no news. Don't believe anything you hear on the internet. And number two, what ratio would you say consumer media, films, music, games? Well, right. You didn't really finish that question. This is what he wrote. What ratio would you say? Would you say you consume media, films, music, games, literature? That's not something I'm going to be able to come up with an answer for. I don't give it much thought. I'm going to move on. Almighty Santa says, here's two questions. Number one, is there any game you absolutely loved years ago, then played it again and realized it sucked? For me, it would have to be Echo the Dolphin. Didn't know why I enjoyed it so much. Well, I never enjoyed Echo. And thinking back, there has to be some games that I enjoyed and then realized they sucked. That's a toughie. I know there's definitely been that's happened, but you know what? I'm going to say that I never really played a game that I liked and realized that it completely sucks, but I have played games and realized they're not as good as I thought they were. And I've played games that I knew were bad all the way through simply because I wanted to beat them. But I don't think I've ever went back to a game that I've enjoyed and then had a complete 180 on it where it completely sucks. I mean, I forced myself to play through bad games in the past, which I don't do now because there's no reason to. But, yeah, I don't know if there's really an answer the way you wrote it, at least. Number 2, do you listen to the radio for music? I personally do not, since most of the radio choices where I live suck ass beyond classic rock radio that recycles the same fucking songs we've heard a billion times already. Well, that's the point of classic rock radio. There's no use complaining about it. That's what it's there for. That's also just about the only radio I listen to because for new music, there is a lot of great new music out there, but you're not likely to hear it on the radio. You're likely to hear it on the internet. So for new music, I utilize the internet, and for older music, like the classic stuff, I would listen to, or not necessarily just classic rock, but any genre, I would listen to the radio. I've been listening to the radio a bit more lately in my car, because my CD player is something wrong with it. There's a CD stuck in there, so that's gone there. Shanked Zombie says, sorry about my sentences earlier, my keyboard is acting funny. Well, your eyes aren't. Do you like System of a Down? Thanks for making a great show. No, I don't like System of a Down. They're awful. He also posted, once I watched a video where this guy decided to show off his consoles, and he was talking about the 32X, and he said something like, you put it on the top of the Genesis. And the transcript said, you put it on your mother. So the transcript is full of lulls like that. I am disappointed, YouTube. Well, transcribe audio is a mess, and it doesn't really work. And I don't know, it never gets anything right, really. I don't know how it, going from Genesis to Mother, that's, wow. They're not even closely phonetically related. So there you go. Dimebag Zombie said, I recently came into possession of a GameCube, and I'm not exactly caught up on the system's library. Could you recommend 3 games you would consider a must-have for the system? I'm aiming to get Wind Waker, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and have Metroid Prime and Bomberman Jetters. Other than that, any recommendations? Well, the first 3 that I would recommend would be Wind Waker, Smash Bros. Melee, and Metroid Prime. So obviously you want me to name 3 others that are like must-haves for the GameCube. Assuming you don't have it for any other consoles, I would say get Resident Evil 0. No, I'm sorry. Oh, no, not 0. I'm sorry. My bad. Because that was only on the GameCube and it was awful. Resident Evil 4. Get Resident Evil 4, assuming you don't have it for any other consoles. Do not get 0 unless you're a collector. 0 is bad. I would also recommend, if you can get a hold of it, a great RPG, Skies of Arcadia Legends. It was originally released as Skies of Arcadia on the Dreamcast. It's like sort of enhanced port, definitely worth getting. And for number 3, and this may sound like somewhat of a surprise, but I'm going to say get Super Mario Sunshine. It's a great game. It's a little bit underrated, Let's see, Viper Mosh says, what would you rather play, a game with really good graphics but limited gameplay, or a game with average graphics but really good, long-lasting gameplay? And what draws you into a game more, the gameplay, the story, or the graphics? Well, definitely I would rather play the game with average graphics but a good, long-lasting gameplay. That's way more important. And lately, it's I always traditionally said the gameplay draws me in, but lately it's been more the story. Since I have put up with flawed gameplay because I like the story of the game. Juicy APL, or he might want to say Juicy Apple, says, I remember you previously mentioned that you're not a big drinker, but when you do drink, what are your preferences? Any favorite beers or liquors? For beers, I prefer like the darker, stronger stuff like Guinness, although they recently changed the recipe of Guinness, and I haven't tried it yet, but I've been told it's kind of weak. But like I like the dark beers. As for liquors, I anything really. I mean, I like rum and I like vodka and I like whiskey. I mean, I just don't drink a lot, but I'll throw back the rum and cokes or the Jack and Cokes or whatever. Let's see. The Amazing Tony Rose says, hey, glad to see the new season started. Anyway, I have a few questions. Number 1, you previously mentioned you might be getting Persona 4 Arena. Have you gotten it, and if so, care to share any thoughts? I'm a big fan of Persona, so I'm eager for you to try it and hear what you have to say. Well, I've not gotten Persona 4 Arena because I haven't gotten the Vita yet, and I'm waiting for, at least a few more games to come out for it that I'm interested in. And number 2, what do you think it'll take for the Sonic franchise to become truly relevant again? I think Generations was a step in the right direction, but they need to do more. Continued next comment. Well, let me just answer that. I don't care if it ever becomes relevant. I've lost all interest in Sonic, and anything they do is going to be, as far as I'm concerned, too late. They're not going to do anything to get me interested again. I've moved on. You know what I mean? It's stop beating the dead horse. Really, if I can give them any advice, I would say stop releasing Sonic games for like 5 years and then reboot it. You know, do what Tomb Raider did. In other words. And okay, his third and final question, this is the final comment I have here. When doing features that require you to play multiple versions of the same game, like the Street Fighter feature you are doing right now, do you ever get bored or tired of the game? Yeah, it can happen, and with Street Fighter, it's kind of interesting because I can play as different characters in each video, and that's kind of like why I like to show off the different versions, because like I'll play as like Ryu, and then I'll play a different version, I'll be Blanca, you know, whatever, and I can show actually like a far better variety of the game by showing off a lot of different characters and scenarios and things like that. But I have occasionally been where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm done with this. Pretty much any feature I do near the end, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this, you know. But I always get through them. Well, anyway, that's the questions and comments for this week. If you have any more questions and comments, send them to me by commenting on this very video. Before we get to the news, though, we do have a guest coming in. All right, so guys, it's not that often that I get somebody that says they want to sing on the show. As a matter of fact, this is the first time this has ever happened. And I had to say yes to this. So I got this guy here, goes by the name Neurosephiroth.
Yes.
Or what do you want to be called?
Just Neurosephiroth.
Neurosephiroth, okay. And he wants to sing for me, or for you guys, rather, the One-Winged Angel song from Final Fantasy VII. Now, before you go ahead and do this, let me ask you where you came up with the idea to do something so ridiculous.
Okay, well, I got the idea because I figure that there's not very many 14-year-olds that can sing a song, much less in a different language, much less from a video game. So,
Okay.
You know, I figured it'd actually be a pretty unique performance.
Okay, and that brings me into my second question. Can you actually sing, or is this going to be like one of those like American Idol tryouts where the person thinks they can sing, but it sounds like a frog in a blender?
Well, I'm not like one of those, professional. I'm not like a professional singer, you know. I can't sing that good, but.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you if you can sing or not after you do this.
Okay.
But all right, that's really all I needed to know. And I've been dying to hear this, so why don't you just go ahead and do your thing?
All right. Starting the song from the beginning.
He's got the song playing now, and I guess I got to talk a little because we're not going to be able to hear it. He's going to be doing this basically. We're only going to hear his voice, which is going to add to the fun.
Yes. Well, fun, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, waiting for the song to proceed.
Da, 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 da.
I actually learned to sing this song back in like April of 2012. I just never decided to bring this up till now.
Oh, well, you should do a YouTube video of it. That would be funny.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was going to do it for like the 100 video special or something.
You got to be better than that Sega Camp Gamer guy.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be better than him. No matter how bad you are, you got to be better than him.
Yeah. Had to turn the YouTube volume down. It's starting to drown you out. All right.
Should be getting close.
Yes. It's getting very close right now. There we go.
All right.
Stans and daddies, eat of MNT. Stans and daddies, eat of MNT. Sephiroth.
Bum, 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 bum.
Sephiroth.
Oh my God! Really?
Yes. Stans and daddies, eat of MNT. Stans and daddies, eat of MNT. Sephiroth. Sephiroth. That went a bit early there. So, Zimanis. Edinanis.
Oh no.
So, Zimanis. Edinanis.
I apologize to all my
Están en
listeners.
vehemente, están en vehemente, Severov.
What is the
Alright,
thump? Okay, that's enough of that. Now let me ask you a question. I was hearing some thumping
that was me
during
tapping
that.
my, that was me tapping my foot against my
Okay,
table.
because I was going to ask, was that you raping the song that I was hearing?
That was not me raping the song.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was terrible.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really bad. I mean, I'm sorry, but that was bad.
No, I agree with you.
Okay. Well, hey, it took balls.
It
So
did.
I got to give you credit for that. Um, I just got to ask again, why? Why my show? Why? What made you think this was a good debut for your, and I use this term loosely, talents?
Okay, thank you for that. Totally sounded like a compliment. Well, I don't know of many other shows on YouTube that are like this.
Okay.
So, and I don't think there's even any others about video games. So it's about the only thing I can think of.
Well, there's loads of gaming podcasts out there, but yeah, I mean, what struck me was that you really weren't singing it. You were just kind of just saying the words.
Well, I was singing it to like the rhythm of the song because that's like how the song actually
Yeah, but
plays
it, it,
out.
it, it
So,
is it is an aria, and so it is supposed to be an operatic style of singing.
well, I, my voice is high pitched, but I can't go. I'm not gonna about to go that high and embarrass
Well, you don't
myself
you don't have to
further.
you don't have to go high, but you could do like the tenor thing. Like I mean
Yeah,
that would have been
like
really kind of badass actually, and you're just kind of that's all I was hearing really.
well,
Sephiroth. Well, you did it, and you can say that you did it, and you did it with your head held high,
thank
and
you.
like I said, I've seen those like American Idol things where these people come on and they know they're terrible. They have to know they're terrible. They just want to be on TV, and it takes balls to do that. So kudos to you and your nuts for doing
Thanks.
that. Now you said you're 14, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm trying to. I actually just took a nap, so I'm still a little woozy here.
Huh.
So I'm trying to think of how old you were when Final Fantasy VII came out. You had to have been like 5 or 6 years old.
I wasn't born yet.
You weren't even born yet?
No.
Oh my God, it's that old. Now I
Yeah.
feel now I feel old.
Well, I mean, it came out in 1997. I was born the year later.
Wow, you're right. Yeah, now I feel old. I feel really old now because you hadn't even been born yet when Final Fantasy VII came in. Now, what drew you to that game then? Because obviously you didn't play it right out of the
Well,
womb.
well, well, one of the first games I played, one of the first RPGs I played was Final Fantasy VIII. I know you're gonna start criticizing in a second,
I
so
don't need to criticize it. It does a good enough job criticizing itself.
well, that's one perspective. But I thought Final Fantasy VIII was the only Final Fantasy game. Once again, I was 4, so when I heard about 7, I was like, I gotta try this.
Well,
Well,
how
I
did
heard about
you?
it.
My
Heard
my my,
about it.
my question's perhaps ill-worded. How did you get into RPGs?
I saw my dad playing Final Fantasy VIII, and
Oh,
I
okay.
just
So
looked. I explicitly remember it because I got him into a random battle.
yes.
I was messing with the controller. I was like, what does this do?
Okay, so and is the music aspect of it something that was always an interest of yours?
Yes, actually, I have the song on my phone, so
Okay. So, and I assume you've played through and beaten Final Fantasy VII.
yes, actually, the first time I beat it was actually like a couple months ago.
Oh wow. Okay. So what other types of games are you into?
I'm willing to try anything.
Mm.
There's a number of games I'm not willing to try, and those are the terrible NES ones. If I need to refer you to one, just check out any of the Angry Video Game Nerds videos.
Well, I mean, he sometimes exaggerates.
No, that's true.
I wouldn't want anybody to miss out on Simon's Quest just because he said it was bad.
I have heard it was actually pretty good. I've seen your Let's Play of it like a very long time ago.
Yeah, excellent game. I mean, he's playing a character. You got to remember, he's not really a critic.
Yeah.
It's just I was just watching his stuff a little earlier actually too, and he's done a few games that I'm like, I know they're pretty good games, and he's just blowing it out of proportion. So you're mainly into RPGs though.
Yes.
Have you played Chronicles of Dark Lord?
I have not. I want to play it though.
Well, what's stopping you?
Lack of money for one.
Oh, come on, it costs $5.
I never even looked up the price. So.
Well, now you
I
know.
I didn't think that through.
Yeah, now you know. It costs $5. I mean, if you ever wanna sing like the Antocalius theme and come back, you could do that. That would be funny.
All right.
The Anathema of Life. Have you heard that one?
I haven't.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna link you to it on the channel. It's a little more robust than the one you just sang. Give me a second here.
Okay.
No, I don't want anything by the band Anathema. Oh, here we go. Okay. Although Anathema is a great band, so just a shout out to them. Okay, here you go. Where's Skype? I have to ask you because I'm like, all right, you're into RPGs. Have you played Chronicles of Dark Lord? I'm pretty much required by law to ask you this.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm vice president of the company, so.
I did not know that.
And you didn't know it cost $5 either, so you're learning all sorts of things today.
You said you were a video game designer. I just thought like you were one of like. I didn't think you were like that high up.
Well, I've moved up
Oh.
ladder, so to speak.
Yeah.
I do move upwards. Try not to move downwards unless my girlfriend's around.
Okay.
Then I go down. But thanks for coming on. Is there anything else you wanted to do or sing or?
Sing? Yeah, no.
No, yeah, you're like, no, I had enough of that.
Yeah, I was nervous during the song. I don't think I want to go through that again.
Well, you could say you did it.
Yeah.
I mean, and people will say why, and you'll say,
Because I got balls.
Carpe diem. Or in your case, carpe scrotum. Seize the balls.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, we're going to cut you loose. We'll get back to the show. Thanks for coming on, Nero Sephiroth. Oh, do you have a YouTube channel you want to plug?
Yes, Nero Sephiroth.
Okay, so check out youtube.com/Nero Sephiroth. And what kind of?
I was also previously Shadow Ruler 98. Just throwing that out there.
Shadow Ruler 98. What kind of stuff do you have on there?
Same things as before, just LPs.
Okay, so if you want to see his LPs, maybe he sings along. Who knows? Go
Nope.
check it out. Well, see, all right, now they have no reason to check it out. See, they were going to be like, maybe he does, and they would go check it out. Now you just told them, no, but definitely not.
I am going to re-sing One Winged Angel eventually.
Okay.
I'm going to do it for like one of the video specials. Like
I will say something, and before we started recording, I was saying, well, actually, it was before you started singing, you are better than the Sega Camp Gamer. Because he would have sounded like. I mean, that would have been him. So, all right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. That was certainly a unique experience that I've never had before.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Oh, man, oh, man. Well, thanks to Nero Sephiroth for coming on and thoroughly humiliating himself. Not many people have the sack to do that. It certainly took balls. We're going to get over to the news now. Have a bit of good news here. Let's see. What do we got here? If you're into Fire Emblem, and Fire Emblem Awakening is coming out fairly soon, there's also a Fire Emblem Awakening 3DS bundle that you can get for $200. It comes with a unique blue 3DS with some Fire Emblem designs on it. Looks very, very cool. You get a 4 gigabyte SD card on which the game, which you get digitally, is already loaded. Now, if you were to buy like a regular non-XL 3DS for $170 and then the game would be $40, that would actually come out to more. But of course, you have the option of getting the game physically. But this is coming out, and I think it's limited quantities. It's available on February 4th, which is the release date of Fire Emblem Awakening, which I'm looking forward to very much. So we'll see what happens with that. If you're a fan of Batman Arkham City, and before that Batman Arkham Asylum, and really who wasn't, they're both very good games, it looks like they're not quite done with the series. The domain manager, Mark Monitor, which they handle Warner Brothers properties, registered a whole bunch of Arkham-related websites, including ArkhamUniverse.com, BatmanArkhamUniverse.com, BatmanArkhamArises.com, BatmanArkhamBegins.com, BatmanArkhamDarkKnight.com, BatmanArkhamKnight.com, BatmanArkhamLegend.com, BatmanArkhamLegends.com, Batman Arkham Knight, without the K.com, Batman Arkham Origins.com, Batman Arkham Stories.com, Dark Knight Arkham.com, DC Arkham Universe.com, DC Arkham Universe.com, DC Arkhamverse.com, and the ArkhamUniverse.com. So any one of those may allude to a title of a new game that may or may not be coming out, hasn't been. What's going on? Could be a movie, could be a game, could be, cartoon, could be anything, could be comics. Like I said, this comes directly from Warner Brothers properties manager Mark Monitor for their online properties. So that's a little news there. They're not quite done with that. A while back, and I think I might have talked about this, there was the possibility of Resident Evil Revelations, which was a 3DS game coming to home consoles, talking, of course, about the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Capcom has still yet to either confirm or deny this. However, that was coming, if you remember, from a Korean ratings board. They posted listings for it. It looks like it is official because apparently the Xbox 360 achievements have surfaced, which pretty much confirms that the game will be hitting the Xbox 360 under the title Resident Evil Revelations Unveiled Edition. And if it's coming to the Xbox 360, it's probably coming also to the PlayStation 3. So there's some news there. Here's some great news for fans of Civilization 5, such as myself. If you remember, we had the add-on a few months ago, Civilization 5 Gods and Kings. It looks like, and this is another leak thing, according to the Steam Apps database, there may be something coming out called Civilization 5 One World. So that's a big deal. So that's going on there. Do have some news. The new Devil May Cry just came out, and it is getting great reviews. I know we talked about, in the past how a lot of fans were sort of playing this one off as it's going to suck, but it's getting great reviews. Just wanted to mention this. Giant Bomb gave it a perfect score. Game Informer a 90 out of 100. IGN an 89 out of 100. Edge Magazine an 80 out of 100. And GameSpot also an 80 out of 100. So getting great reviews there. Just wanted to mention that. If you're in the market for a white PlayStation 3 Slim, well, you know that they've gotten them in Japan, Europe, and Australia so far. Nothing in America, though. You can now get the white, or you will soon, in January 27th, be able to get the white PlayStation 3 Slim in Canada. So there you go. So, hopefully that'll come to America. If you're looking forward to BioShock Infinite like I am, and if you're thinking of playing this on PC, I have for you the minimum and recommended PC requirements. And this is interesting since I just bought myself a new computer. It hasn't arrived yet because I did do a build-to-order PC, and apparently it's shipping tomorrow morning, so I'm very much looking forward to that. It's coming. I'm just, I finally have a tracking order. Let me track this right now, actually. But about a few hours ago, they told me it shipped, and then but the tracking was not available yet. So it's almost 1 a.m. now. Okay, so it was picked up by UPS, or rather FedEx Ground at 6:09 p.m. in El Paso, Texas. So my computer's in Texas. So I'm actually thinking maybe I'll get BioShock Infinite for PC instead of for Xbox 360. I love to play first-person shooters on PC more than Xbox. So let's see. These are the minimum requirements. So see, the minimum requirements you would need to have for operating system, Windows Vista Service Pack 2 32-bit, recommended Windows 7 Service Pack 1 64-bit. I'll be having Windows 7. Processor, minimum requirement will be an Intel Core 2 Duo 2.4 GHz or an AMD Athlon X2 2.7 GHz. The recommended is a quad-core processor. I am getting a quad-core processor. So there you go. For memory, they minimum 2 gigs of RAM, recommending 4 gigs of RAM. I'll have 8, so there you have it. Hard drive, minimum recommendation is 20 gigs free. 30 gigs is recommended. Video card. This is what's really important. The minimum video card for BioShock Infinite DirectX 10 compatible ATI Radeon HD 3870 or an NVIDIA 880 GT or an Intel HD 3000 integrated graphics card. Recommended would be DirectX 11 compatible AMD Radeon HD 6950 or an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 560. I'm getting a GTX 660, quite a lot more powerful than a 560. For video card memory, they are requiring minimum of half a gig, recommending a full gig. You know what? I'm not actually sure how much memory my my graphics card gets. I'm actually going to look up the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 660 right now on Google, assuming my internet is working. It's been a little wonky lately. And I just want to see how much memory it has, because I was actually curious about that. And I don't think it said it when I built it, but I just picked like the better card, because the default was the 640. I went for the 660 GTX. So okay, yeah, game performance, GPU performance, that's great. What about the actual memory? Let me move back here. What about the specs? Come on. Where to buy, review, roundup, feature story, product, video, It doesn't say it. It's got to have at least a gig, though. I'll figure it out when I get the damn thing. Okay, and for sound card, you'll want a DirectX compatible. That's both for minimum and recommended. So that's if you're looking to. That's my most anticipated game of 2013, coming out March 26th. Also coming out for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. So Ubisoft apparently hired an English playwright. His name is Michael Leslie, and he is going to be adapting the screenplay for the Assassin's Creed movie. So if you're looking forward to them doing an Assassin's Creed movie, this is the guy who's going to be writing the adapted screenplay. He worked on Prince of Denmark, which was performed at the National Theatre in 2012, and short films such as Skirt and an acclaimed adaptation of the memoir War Reporting for Cowards. So there you have it. Apparently, Michael Fassbender, he played Magneto in the X-Men First Class movie, and he was also in Prometheus. He played a robot in that. He's going to star in and co-produce the Assassin's Creed film. So, it looks like it's on the right track. We'll see what's going on there. Here's a little bit of news coming out of Steam Greenlight, the latest crop of games that were approved for release on Steam through the Steam Greenlight voting process and will be distributed to the store either immediately if they're finished or when they are ready. This is the fourth round of Steam Greenlight approvals. Akeniro Demon Hunters, La Mulana, Leisure Suit Larry Remake, Asylum, DLC Quest, Ador, Masters of the Broken World, Mac, The Age of Decadence, Unepic, and War for the Overworld. I gotta say, out of all those, I will definitely be getting La Mulana for Steam. Very much looking forward to that. If you're in Australia, you were very lucky to get a release of Mortal Kombat for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. As you remember, it was initially denied a certification and therefore banned in Australia. Of course, they now have an R18 plus classification for games, and Mortal Kombat, they didn't get it at first, so they are going to be resubmitted for classification with the complete edition now that we have the R18 plus classification. So it looks like Mortal Kombat, you're very lucky. This may be coming to Australia if you live in Australia. Speaking of Mortal Kombat, the follow-up, the spiritual successor, that is, Injustice Gods Among Us, has a release date. That's coming out April 16th. And if you want, you can get a collector's edition, which costs $149. $150 is $149.99, and that was already revealed. But there's also going to be another version called a Battle Edition, which will include an Injustice Gods Among Us fight stick, which has some characters on it and whatnot. And also, you'll get DLC skins for Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman as they are in the DC Comics The New 52 revamp. So there you go. And finally, if you played Street Fighter Cross Mega Man, Street Fighter Cross Mega Man version 2, still for free, is coming January 18th. So there you go. So if you're looking for an update that you're going to want to get this, of course the most important thing is it now will have a save feature. So you won't have to start it from scratch every time you play it. There's some other new features, but that, of course, is the most important one. That's it for the news for this week. Let's get to the top sellers lists, and then we're going to call it a day. So let's see. Let's start with the software. Over in Japan, the top-selling game for the week ending in January 6 was Animal Crossing New Leaf for the 3DS, which sold 134,535 copies. New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS sold 92,047 copies. Paper Mario Sticker Star for the 3DS sold 66,071 copies. New Super Mario Bros. U for the Wii U sold 49,691 copies. Inazuma 11 Go 2 Chrono Stone for the 3DS sold 49,020 copies. Nintendo Land on the Wii U sold 40,920 copies. One Piece Romance Don Boken no Yoke for PlayStation Portable sold 39,802 copies. Fantasy Life for the 3DS sold 39,308 copies. Magician's Quest Town of Magic for the 3DS sold 36,978 copies. And Tosuchu Shiju Saikyu no Hunter Tachi Nara Nigakiri, that's on the 3DS, and it sold 33,794 copies. So in other words, the top 10 were almost completely dominated by Nintendo, with only one Sony entry over there at number 7. Over in Europe, of course, things are very different. The top-selling game in Europe for the same week, the week ending in January 5th, it's handled a little differently, of course. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for PlayStation 3 sold 70,368 copies. FIFA Soccer 13 for PlayStation 3 sold 69,222 copies. FIFA Soccer 13 for the Xbox 360 sold 61,068 copies. Far Cry 3 for Xbox 360 sold 58,710 copies. Far Cry 3 for PlayStation 3 sold 56,799 copies. And by the way, counting all this up, the top-selling game would definitely be FIFA Soccer. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for Xbox 360 sold 51,296 copies. Just Dance 4 for the Wii sold 48,649 copies. Halo 4 for Xbox 360 sold 45,175 copies. Need for Speed Most Wanted, a Criterion game. That's really the full title of it. That's on PlayStation 3, and that sold 40,154 copies. And Assassin's Creed 3 for PlayStation 3 sold 33,493 copies. Moving over to America, the top-selling game was Halo 4 for the Xbox 360, sold 104,963 copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the Xbox 360 sold 101,431 copies, and Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on PlayStation 3 sold 67,553 copies, essentially making Black Ops 2 the top-selling game. Just Dance 4 on the Wii sold 55,168 copies. NBA 2K13 on the Xbox 360 sold 48,294 copies. Assassin's Creed 3 on the Xbox 360 sold 41,920 copies. Kinect Adventures on the Xbox 360 sold 40,512 copies. Assassin's Creed 3 on the PlayStation 3 sold 32,582 copies. Far Cry 3 on the Xbox 360 sold 31,555 copies, and New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS sold 27,717 copies. So globally speaking, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was the big winner, followed by Halo 4, New Super Mario Bros. 2, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Just Dance 4, FIFA Soccer, Far Cry 3, New Super Mario Bros. U, and well, actually Far Cry 3 again, so there you have it. So Far Cry 3 would be probably a little bit above Just Dance 4. As for hardware, the top-selling game top-selling game console in Japan, unsurprisingly, the 3DS. The Nintendo 3DS moved 294,665 units. The Wii U, 69,705 units. The PlayStation 3, 64,803 units. The PlayStation Portable, 53,520 units. PlayStation Vita, 31,837 units. The Wii, 5,451 units. The Xbox 360, 1,573 units. And the DS, 513 units. Over in Europe, the big winner was the PlayStation 3 with 130,236 units sold. The 3DS, 93,588 units. The Xbox 360, 66,998 units. The Wii, 33,116 units. The PlayStation Vita, 30,748 units. The Wii U, 24,550 units. The DS, 23,265 units. And the PlayStation Portable, 9,338 units. And over in America, the top-selling console was the 3DS. No, actually, I'm sorry, it was the Xbox 360, just barely beating it out, 86,098 units. The 3DS, 81,556 units. The PlayStation 3, 54,751 units. The DS, 33,864 units. The Wii, 33,190 units. The Wii U, 31,713 units. And the PlayStation Portable, 2,000. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. PlayStation Vita, rather. 20,046 units. And then the PlayStation Portable, 2,977 units. So, taking the entire globe into account, the number one best-selling console was the 3DS, followed by PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii U, PlayStation Portable, Vita, Wii, and the DS. So there you have it. So that's going to be the show for this week. Remember, if you got any questions or comments, leave them on this video. If you want to be on the show, get on Skype and let me know about it. I'll see you guys next week. VMX out.